Well, what if we told you their jerseys said Boston College, but they were playing for someone else? In the late 70s, a small group of BC ballers got mixed up with the real good fellas and started shaving points. What if we told you that once the fix is in, it can't be fixed? ESPN Films 30 for 30 presents Playing for the Mob, brought to you by Infinity, Tuesday 9 p.m. on ESPN and watch ESPN. Just a fascinating story. Dave Fleming, Mike Bellotti, Allison Williams here in Provo, where Utah State sets up for a long field goal try of 45 yards to begin the fourth quarter. And this is Jake Thompson, their secondary place kicker, who handles the longer attempts. They're going to officially say 44 yards.
Ball travels a little bit better here, so the length doesn't scare me. The protection initially scares me.
Kick up and push to the right. It is no good. Now BYU dodges a bullet there, and Utah State continues to really struggle in the kick game. Maybe Bronco Mendenhall, and the Cougars still have some kind of shot. It's going to take a heck of a comeback, a Jim McMahon style comeback, if they're going to do it here tonight, down 35-17.
They're going to have to score on almost every possession in this quarter. The reality is they'll get maybe 4 possessions depending on what Utah State does. They got to play well on both sides of the ball.
What was it, the Holiday Bowl? They were down 3 touchdowns maybe with 3 minutes to go, something like that. And one of his most famous performances at BYU, Stewart hit as he launches on. That'll be a penalty flag and then some. 3 different flags thrown, intended for Matthews. And there's also a BYU player back behind the play, injured and down. Another injury for the Cougars. Looks like Braden Kearsley.
And he's filling in at the right guard position.
Pass interference, number 6 of the defense. Penalty is 15 yards from the previous spot. First down.
He also backs up at right tackle.
That was a pretty easy call.
Yeah, we're going to see that a lot more. They're going to use the height advantage. They're going to be throwing the ball deep, trying to either get the interference or a completed pass, get over the top.
Well, the BYU offense will take a break while their offensive lineman is hurt. We'll step aside, be back right after this. Welcome back to ESPN College Football Primetime, presented by Jimmy John's. 14:46 to go in the fourth quarter here in Provo. 35-17. Utah State on the road with the big lead. BYU does have the ball. Christian Stewart, their backup in. Taysom Hill, their starter, out. Stewart keeps it himself on first down and gets a couple of yards.
You know, I'm not sure I'd be running quarterback power at this point in the game. I think he's a good thrower. I don't know about his running skills, but I don't want to put him in harm's way in terms of injury.
I saw a quick shot of the right guard, Braden Kearsley. So another injury that looks significant for BYU. Stewart keeping it again, and he dives short of a first down by a yard to set up 3rd down and 1.
That dive may have been a little premature. I think he'd rather have gotten the first down.
A 3rd and a yard. They hand it off, and it is a BYU first down. Now did the ball come out? No, he held on to it. Paul Lasike with the carry for 4 yards and a first down BYU.
They like Lasike. He's a big power back, over 230 pounds. They can use him as a changeup to pound inside.
They give it to him once again, and Utah State's defense was right there. If you missed it late in the first half, Taysom Hill, BYU ball, and driving down by a touchdown. Here's the play, left leg, ankle, and you can see the pressure on that lower leg. They have not described the fracture, but they did take x-rays. It is a leg fracture for Taysom Hill. Now going deep, Leslie dives, and he can't catch it. Jordan Leslie, good effort. Stewart's pass just a little bit too strong.
Nice touch. He's got a very, very good arm, and Leslie almost got to that. He showed the ability that some receivers have to make up time while the ball's in the air. Ball was overthrown quite a bit early, but he really turned on the Jets.
So it's 3rd and 9, and you would figure with the score, BYU is in 4-down territory. Utah State brings some pressure. It was picked up nicely. That Pass incomplete, but there's another flag. That's going to be another penalty against the Aggies secondary, this time the true freshman Jalen Davis.
It looked to me as if he hooked him with the back or right arm. Did a nice job. He got a piece of the ball, but as we see this, we maybe watch it coming right at us here.
Pass interference.
You see that right arm.
Defense
hook.
number 13. The ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. First down.
That's almost being too quick for your own good. Jalen Davis, they say he is maybe the best cover guy and one of the fastest guys they have on the entire team.
So first down, BYU. And now whistles and a timeout, Aggies. Utah State did not like how they were lined up on defense, so we'll take a timeout ourselves. 35-17 the score. Dave Fleming, Mike Bellotti, Allison Williams in Provo, Utah, where BYU at home trying to stay undefeated, but 13-15 to go, and they are down big, 35-17. They do have the ball, 1st and 10 at the Aggies' 32-yard line. So on the move with their backup quarterback Christian Stewart in the game. Their starter and star Hill hurt and out, and that pass incomplete. That is 6 in a row incomplete from the quarterback Christian Stewart.
And if you average about 4 possessions a quarter, the reality is they're going to have to score on 3 of these 4 possessions. So in addition to playing good, they have to be very efficient in handling the ball.
And those 2 interceptions, I'm not sure you put them all on Stewart, but the number's not pretty so far in his first real game action. Now another flag thrown.
Dave, you mentioned, though, he had a great spring.
He did.
Really threw the ball and impressed the coaches and the team. I think they felt good, but they certainly, assumed that Taysom Hill would be the guy.
Yeah.
There is no foul for illegal formation. Second down.
So no penalty. It'll be second down. Let's go again to Allison Williams.
Well, BYU injury issues continuing to mount. Right guard Braden Kearsley out with a left ankle injury. Not sure if he will return. He was already replacing Brock Stringham, who's out with a shoulder injury.
So they're down to their 3rd stringer at right guard. Tooney Canuch is in there now. That flat pass complete to Adam Hine, so he does complete a pass. There's number 78. But 3rd down coming up, just a short gain. There is the sophomore, Braden Kearsley.
It'll be interesting to see if this is 4-down territory or they kick a field goal. They're 18 points down. You have to do the math. They're going to go for 2 at some point if they take a field goal. Sort of a moot point now.
He airmailed the throw. He was hit again as he got rid of it, and that one's intercepted, this time by Frankie Cetera. There is a flag down on the play near the line of scrimmage, so we'll see. But as it stands, another interception for Utah State. Now the Aggies defense is coming off the field like they think this one's against BYU.
Personal foul, number 91 of the intercepting team, for hitting a player that is out of the play. The penalties half the distance to the goal. First down.
So the interception stands. The penalty after the play basically was over or not involved in the play. So that was what happened after the throw. Then Stewart gets up and there's the penalty.
And most defenses tell you that if the ball's intercepted, go block the quarterback, regardless of where he is on the field. And they're trying to do a better job now of protecting that person, even if he starts to run towards the ball.
And that didn't look too dirty to me.
That was sort of a little guy got in the way of a big guy running.
But for BYU, their chances of coming from behind are slipping away. The Aggies offense back on the field. Hand off. Hill. Left side after the bounce and cuts it back middle, upended at the 18-yard line. Now tomorrow, and the games start early and some really good matchups, Mike, right away.
No question. Ohio State better watch out. Maryland is a talented team with some good receivers. They'll be tested. And we talked about that A&M Mississippi State game. That I love that one. I think that's really a pick 'em type game. And then Purdue versus Illinois, somebody's got to win that game.
And we'll leave it at that. 2nd and 6 for the Aggies after the Cetera interception. Somebody will win and somebody will lose. Between the Illini and the Boilermakers, Nick Vigil. And you wonder Mike, you watch this game, and the linebacker never carried the ball in college, was a real good high school running back. He's a star on the defensive side of the ball. Has this worked well enough? I mean, he's played really well. You figure this is going to be a part of their offense going forward?
Well, I have to say yes, because he has great instincts as a running back. The one thing I've been impressed with is the Aggie running backs have started going into the line of scrimmage and had the BYU defense commit. They've had the speed and the vision to bounce it outside and get some big yards going outside the center of the defense.
3rd and 3. Utah State's been pretty good on 3rd down. The fake fly sweep, the handoff. BYU right there. Tackle for a loss of a yard. Nick Vigil on offense tonight, Mike.
Yeah, let's just watch him. This is the one he sort of breaks tackles and drives him. I'll tell you what, he moves the pile. And then here's a great job, too, of vision and speed and athleticism for a big guy just getting outside. He's got more speed than you think, and then just pushing the pile, seeing the hole, and getting in the end zone. His first college touchdown.
Well, and you can see the instincts of a guy who did play at the high school level, was a star running back in the state of Utah. He was switching the ball from his right to his left as he cut it back, and he looked pretty natural.
Yeah, you don't forget how to carry the ball. It's not very heavy.
A little end-over-end punt, and Blackman with the return, cut back. Can he get to that corner? No. He'll go out of bounds with a shove at the end of the play. But no penalty flag thrown, so 10-12 to go for a miracle comeback. Helmet back on for Nick Vigil, back on the defensive side when we return.
ESPN College Football Primetime is presented by Jimmy John's, great sandwich delivery, and in part by Wells Fargo. When people talk, great things happen.
Now look inside the wall, they call it, BYU Club in the Student Activities Center. Now that was Thursday night. Who knows, maybe it's going off on a Friday night after the football game is over here in Provo. 35-17. Utah State's fans, not big in number, but a couple hours down the interstate here in Provo from Logan. And watching their Aggies play a heck of a game. 35-17, they lead.
If the score prevails, it'll be a happy drive home.
Those 2 hours will fly by. BYU, they got to go quickly. They got to get points very quickly. Stewart, the throw, and it was going to be out of bounds, I think, and it was dropped anyway.
Timing was just off a little bit. Leslie was trying to worry about the sideline, tip his toe down, and didn't quite catch the ball. Catch the ball first, worry about your feet later.
And that's sort of back to the point you were making. Christian Stewart, the backup in, a little pump fake going deep, and he makes a nice throw there. Matthews comes down with the catch. Inbounds right at the 30-yard line.
Every other throw should be down the field, because the reality is they have to score. Great job, great catch. That's catch the ball first, get the foot down inbound. Tremendous effort, nice execution.
That was really well done by Matthews. 28 yards. Down to the 30. BYU to the line quickly. Stewart going to the end zone. Leslie incomplete.
They've got to tell him, the coaches have to say, give them a chance to catch the ball. We have a size advantage over their corners. Put the ball up in the air with a little bit more time so our guys can get under. Let it be a jump ball.
And the reality is, I mean, we were talking about how well he played in the spring. He impressed a lot of people. He had never completed a pass in a game at BYU before tonight. So a guy with very little actual game experience. Jamal Williams shoots up the middle inside the 15 down to the 10. So they put the ball on the ground and it works. Williams with a 20-yard carry.
Score quickly, score early, score often. That's the advice for BYU.
Williams with the run. Now Stewart looking end zone. The lob. Matthews incomplete. There's plenty of contact there. Davis with the coverage. No flag.
The ball is still thrown too far.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that. Make it a jump ball. Literally the alley-oop. You can see this right here. And that we're going to win that, but he's got to be able to stay in bounds.
And Matthews is 6'6". Davis is 5'10", and a true freshman. Stewart was looking that way. Now he goes back this side and throws it a little bit high again. Incomplete, intended for Houck. One thing, the incomplete passes do stop the clock, so you got 2 more chances to try to get it in the end zone.
Don't be surprised if they don't run a running play inside. Just as they continue to throw the ball, if they can spread the Utah State defense out a little bit, they may try to run and pop one up inside.
Looking right, throwing right, and caught short by Houck, well short of the goal line. So to be 4th down, Centers who had an interception earlier with a nice tackle. And BYU they're running the field goal team out here. They don't have to go for it.
No, they need points. When you're down 18, if you think 14-4, a field goal puts them in a position where they're going to have to go for 2 at some point.
Yeah, so and that's Bronco Mendenhall's idea. The fans not happy at all.
But it does keep them in the game. And we talked about having to score on 3 out of the 4 possessions. They've already squandered 1. Every possession they have to score some type of points.
Now one thing is you have to actually make the field goal, and they do. Trevor Sampson from 24 yards out, so maybe still some hope for Bronco Mendenhall's Cougars. They trail 35-20. Here in Provo, we've been using that hashtag show me something. Got a lot of great responses. I like this one from Brennan Hunt. Texas A&M receivers need to catch the balls that hit their hands. That was indeed a big problem in the Arkansas game. Huge challenge as they go on the road in Starkville.
I agree, although Mississippi State is not very good in the secondary. That's their Achilles heel, their weakness. So you're right, the A&M receivers better catch those balls.
And that's sort of the fascinating part of that game, which kind of gets everything started tomorrow at noon on ESPN. I mean, that's a huge matchup in the SEC West. 2 teams who do have hopes of making it into the college football playoff. And it's the passing offense for A&M against the passing defense for Mississippi State. And can the Mississippi State sort of hold up? Kind of a pooch kick and in no man's land. And the Aggies did not come up with it cleanly. The ball's still on the ground, and BYU has it.
We talked about needing to play defense, steal a possession in the kicking game, and then score often. This is hopefully the first step for BYU in the comeback.
Well, that was a mistake by Kennedy Williams. I think he's the guy who came up. He tried to scoop it and go. Just fall on the ball, and it is BYU ball. I mean, you just cannot do that up 35-20 with 8 minutes to go. I mean, he had to just get on it.
He actually was trying to do the right thing. He was just going too fast, and that's the problem. We talked about needing something to do, steal a possession in the kicking game, and except for they were offsides.
Wow. So there was a flag, and BYU was offsides, and that negates it. My goodness. I mean, they didn't even announce that until very late, and BYU fans, of all the things that have happened in this game that have gone against them, there's another. Yeah. Let's see.
Take a look right there. Yeah, he gets quite a bit over that line before the ball's even kicked, unfortunately.
Way offsides. So that ends up being a pretty easy call.
And here's the thing, you know, Utah State had issues on their first 2 possessions. Fumbled the ball away down inside the red zone, had a big 15-yard penalty. But since then, the breaks have gone against BYU. Seems like the remainder of the game.
And Utah State has played almost mistake-free in that time. And now Williams and company get a second opportunity. We'll see if BYU, after the penalty, if they try that again or just kick it deep this time.
That's a good question. I really am not sure what they might do. I try it again simply because it worked the first time. Make it prove they can handle it.
So that time handled much better by the Aggies and the up man. Well, with the night of Major League Baseball playoffs now over, if you're just tuning over to our football game, Taysom Hill, one of the great stars in the sport, with a left leg injury, and they took x-rays in the halftime locker room. That was right before the half. And a left leg fracture. They have not given us any more details than that. For a broken leg for Taysom Hill. He has missed this second half, and it's not been just that. BYU, even putting that aside, has been outplayed by the Aggies. There was another penalty, so tack on some yardage there, and Utah State has the ball.
Utah State will attempt to run as much clock as they can. They probably won't snap the ball inside of 10 seconds or so. They are going to throw it, though.
Forget about that.
Yeah,
An incomplete pass.
I'm a little bit surprised, actually. Although they've gotten away from what they did. They threw the ball very well for the most part of this game. Darryl Garretson, certainly the star of the game. Tremendous completion percentage. And this is huge. This win could be huge.
Well, look at that. The last time that Utah State came down here to Provo and got a win against BYU, 1978.
How old were you?
I was 2 years old in 1978.
I was a little older than you.
Where were you in 1978?
I was actually coaching at Cal State Hayward, soon to be coaching at Weber State in 1979.
Right here up the highway. Well, another pass. I don't get this.
I don't either. And it goes against most coaching philosophy, but so does bringing your linebacker over and having him play tailback. You know, BYU's making plays. Utah State is not. The clock has not moved. This is something certainly in BYU's favor right now.
To me, that's not real smart football. 2 straight incompletions. Play clock is down to 10 on 3rd and 10, and now they hand it off to Hill.
Don't go out of bounds.
Who goes out of bounds. Which only saves a certain amount of time, but you just can't do that. That's simple stuff. You're up 35-20 with 8:22 to go. 2 incompletions, and then you go out of bounds on the 3rd down run.
No, that was not. I agree with you. I'm not sure that was coaching 101 right there. When you're ahead by this point in time, you've got the ball, run the clock, make them use timeouts or whatever the case may be. He only took 30 or 40 seconds off the clock total.
I mean, that sequence might have cost him 2 minutes of clock time or so. And it really was only 30 seconds that wound off the clock. The punt, the short return by Devon Blackman. And so BYU, that's a break for them. They get the ball back with 8 minutes to go here at home, needing a miracle. Well, a couple of those games we've been talking about all night in the SEC West. First on ESPN at noon Eastern right away. The 6th ranked team in the country. Huge challenge on the road in Starkville, Texas A&M, Mississippi State. Then under the lights at Auburn, LSU. And Auburn number 15 against number 5.
LSU beat Auburn last year, but I'm not sure they can do it again this year.
Which I think lots of folks have forgotten about after the way Auburn ripped off after that loss. Penalty flag.
False start. 56 of the offense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Well, Auburn's rush offense against LSU has been a lot different than against everybody else the last 2 years.
Yeah, still pretty good, but not quite the same numbers. LSU did a great job of shutting them down.
BYU down 15. Stewart, we'll see if he looks deep here on the move. Stewart gets rid of it, and it's caught, but out of bounds. Well, they talked about it, and I think they're going to get together and look.
I think one might overrule the other.
Incomplete.
No?
Rolling on the field is an incomplete pass. Second down.
Well, Leslie did his best. Let's watch. Incredible effort.
That's a great catch. Ooh, you know what? That's really close. I'm not sure we can totally see. Let's see from another angle if we can tell where his feet came down. All he has to do is have a toe touch inbounds. So they didn't see enough to even think it needed a replay.
Stewart pressured, this time incomplete. Leslie had that one.
Gosh, I'll tell you what, I said this, I told every other ball should be a down the field throw. Let them go. They have to make big plays. They haven't been able to do it with the running game. Unfortunately, this ball is dropped. Nice move to get inside, but just can't corral the ball.
And maybe the presence of the safety centers coming over influence that, but you got to catch that one. Stewart throws short behind the receiver, incomplete. 4th and 15, intended for Mitchell Juergens.
I don't think this is 4-down territory, despite the score in the game. I think they're going to trot the punt team on.
So BYU, after Utah State did not use much clock at all, got the ball back, but 3 and out. Ariano, the punter, back out there.
Stewart started off by completing, I think, his first 2 passes, and his percentage since then has been not very good.
Pressured on the punt, a low line drive kick, and a fair catch by JoJo Natson. And this time I am thinking that Utah State is going to be a little bit more conservative.
I'm going to guess that's the case, because certainly the results last time are not what they wanted. You know, they want to possess the ball. They want to run time off the clock. They actually weren't snapping the ball. They're snapping the ball with 12 and 13 and 15 seconds left, which I'm really surprised at.
And
so,
I'm not saying you can't consider throwing it in certain circumstances, but when you're up on the road like this and the clock is your ally, 2 incompletions and then a run that went out of bounds on the last sequence.
Running back should have gone down inbounds.
1st and 10. They will give it to Hill, running left side toward that edge, and he does stay in bounds and gets the first down. Nice run for Hill.
BYU's defense, I don't know if they're tired, but they need to step up right now. They've got to get a stop, try to get the ball back. And I think especially Utah State seems to have figured out they need to run the ball to get time off the clock.
Looks to me like Nick Vigil is lobbying to get back in the game on offense. He has just been a stud. His first ever college experience at running back. He's got his first ever touchdown. He also leads Utah State with 16 tackles on defense.
That's a pretty good day's work. What do you think?
A two-way star. Hill, another carry into BYU territory. And a gain of 4, almost 5 yards on first down with that clock moving, but stopped now with a BYU timeout. And number 41 will come back on the field.
This is the first timeout of the second half called by BYU. 30-second timeout.
And that is one thing for BYU. They did save their timeout, so they have all 3.
Yeah, and you can stop the ball when you're on offense. You can't stop the ball when you're on defense unless you knock the pass down or you call a timeout.
Well, remember what Matt Wells told us, Mike, yesterday when we were asking about, hey, this is an in-state rivalry, 2 programs that are so close to one another, so many kids who crossed over in high school, played against each other at that level. Utah State kids who wanted to come to BYU and maybe didn't get a chance to come play here in Provo. But Coach Wells told us, hey, Gary Anderson used to say, it ain't a rivalry if you can't beat them every once in a while.
You have to have a win in that conflict, and then you can call it a rivalry. But you're right, both of these teams have always over 40 players on each squad from the state of Utah. There's a great history there. This is a rivalry. This appears to be one now. Matt
Wells, who quarterbacked at Utah State as a player, last year coach of the year in the Mountain West, second year as a head coach. He's only won 1 game in his playing coaching career with Utah State against BYU. There's a special trophy that's at stake. Another BYU player down. That looks like Alani Fua, who is an NFL prospect linebacker. So another standout. They've lost their starting quarterback, most notably Taysom Hill, but also a safety, Dallin Levitt, who's a big-time player, a starting offensive lineman. Braden Kearsley has gone off on a cart. And now Fua with another leg injury, the BYU linebacker. The senior from San Fernando, California, on the right.
Coming in from the right side of the screen there, off the edge. Really hard to tell. Once again, his ankle looks like it gets rolled up by one of his own players. That's, you know, friendly fire sometimes on defense. There's a lot of guys flying to the football, and sometimes that is your own player who's just gets caught up in the traffic.
Well, all 4 of the major injuries for BYU in this game have been similar to that. Maybe not exactly like that, but similar. I'm talking about the trophy that these 2 teams share. It's a wagon wheel. That's it, Mike.
It's a real wagon wheel. It looks like they've got the trophies. Each one is etched there or put in metal. Tells the year probably, and as the winner.
A lot of those spokes pointing to BYU victories over the years.
Probably been reciting here for a while, I take it.
It's been since 1978 that Utah State came to Provo and got a win. More terrible. This is not just a potential loss that derails their hopes for an undefeated season. I mean, they have lost some of their very best players. They've lost their quarterback, and we're speculating, but when you break your leg, likely for the rest of the year, Taysom Hill.
And Taysom Hill was a difference maker for them. I mean, he was a nationally recognized player, a force to be reckoned with when you played this team. And although Bronco Mendenhall and his coaching staff are great. They really do a great job, and they will get this team ready, but it's going to be tough without Taysom now. That's a huge chink out of their armor.
There's Dallin Levitt, the safety, with his own left leg injury. Garrettson hands off. Nick Vigil keeps his balance and around the left side inside the 30. And then guess what? The guy who's almost never played running back at Utah State stays in bounds.
That was a veteran move and the mark of a very savvy football player to get that as much yard as he could. He knew he was going to be forced out of bounds and then get down.
Nick Vigil just tremendous. I mean, this is Miles Jack kind of stuff.
Yeah,
doing it on both sides of the ball. Tons of snaps. I mean, how many snaps has he played?
And 16 tackles, you said?
16 tackles on defense.
I wonder if they give him Monday off from practice or something. I don't know.
I'm going to give him Monday off. They hand it off to Vigil again. This time there just was nowhere to go. Well, it's not just Taysom Hill. The injuries for BYU. Hill, the star quarterback, the left leg. And ultimately, after the x-rays, the broken leg, there's number 2, the safety, Dallin Levitt. He hurt his left leg. The starting offensive lineman, who's really the second stringer, but starting tonight, and you see that left ankle rolled up by his own quarterback. And the similarities with all these injuries just sort of astounding. Alani Fua, excellent linebacker, and he had his left leg and ankle pinned underneath.
You know, that's, as a coach, that's a horror movie right there. Let's not show that one again. I know we have to sometimes, but I'll tell you what, as a coach and as a parent and as a fan, it just hurts you to watch those young men get injured and go down. It's a part of football, but it's a part that's hard to coach against or around.
Well, if you named, okay, BYU, who are your 10 best players, at least 3 of those 4 are on that list, and the clear star of this team, Taysom Hill, at the top of that list. Under center, Vigil. Knocked backwards.
One of the things, too, at this point in time in a game, you're going to call time, but you want to give the ball to somebody who does not fumble it. The guy you trust the most. I'm not sure, really. I mean, Zach Vigil's a great athlete, but he hasn't carried the ball in a couple of years in college. But here he is carrying the ball at the end where you really need it. That's tremendous trust from the coaching staff.
Well, it shows you what they think about this guy. So Utah State in a wide open Mountain West Conference, and maybe a chance for the Aggies after some fits and starts. For BYU, this is going to be a bitter disappointment. And now the challenge, the bye week was last week, right? So you don't have an extra week, some extra time to get your backup quarterback totally up to speed.
And even if you take the injuries out of it tonight, I think you'd have to say that Utah State utilized the bye week much better than BYU did to prepare for this game and come up with some wrinkles that stymied the BYU offense and the BYU defense and what they want to do.
In fact, BYU has a day less than normal on Thursday night there at Central Florida, which will be a challenge against that excellent defense. So they're going to have to regroup in a hurry. 3rd and 11, and Joe Hill upended. The clock continues to roll. It's 4th down. Here's how it shakes out for Utah State. Air Force coming off a huge win, Mike, against Boise State.
Air Force is a good team this year, and they're always tough to prepare for simply because of what they do offensively.
But I mean, you run down that schedule: Air Force, UNLV, Hawaii, Colorado State has improved, and that game is on the road. Wyoming, a lot of chances for wins for the Aggies.
Wyoming actually did a nice job early on in their game against Oregon, and Boise State is sort of a Jekyll and Hyde team. Sometimes they look really good, and I'm not sure about them, but we'll see as this season goes along.
There is Chucky Keaton. We don't know if we're going to see Chucky, the senior star quarterback for the Aggies, who's been wearing the headset all game, and they give him credit. He has cheered on his teammates. And that guy, number 10, the backup, Darrell Garrettson. They take a delay of game penalty, Utah State does.
Well, if they're going to punt it, they're probably going to get back. They don't mind taking that penalty simply because, in fact, they may take another 1 or 2 simply to give the punter a chance to put the ball down inside the 10. Probably angle it away from the return man or hang it up high, kicking it oblong like they do.
Mitchell Juergens back to receive. This game is not over. With 4:33 to go, it's not over, but No timeouts now for BYU. It is going to take a miracle. Juergens came up and signaled for the fair catch.
Stranger things have happened. Actually, I can remember a team called UC Davis that was down 15 points to Cal State Hayward in 1971. Scored 16 points in 20 seconds to win the game. But you guys don't want to hear about that game.
The miracle game.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a famous game.
Did I mention that before?
Who caught
Were
the
you
touchdown?
there for that game?
Who caught the touchdown at the end of that game?
I know some guy that I know.
Well, Mike Bellotti, a tight end for the Aggies. Stewart pressured and sacked. Well, I don't think there's going to be a miracle here tonight.
No, and I think Utah State knows that they are going to try to throw the ball, and they're not as good a matchup down the field. They don't want to allow him to get the pass off, so they're going to come with pressure, come with that zone blitz of 4 guys off the edge, one side or the other, and create some havoc for the quarterback.
Stewart after the sack, left side, and caught. Good throw to Matthews. Out of bounds to stop the clock and a first down.
That was almost like a back shoulder throw. Really pretty nice execution. We talked about how big those guys are in terms of their girth as wide receivers, 6'6", and just a tough matchup down the field.
26 yards. Matthews up to 117 yards. Stewart pressured again, gets away just for a moment. Now scrambling, and he'll run out of bounds. Good play by Christian Stewart.
Very nice play, but you've got to anticipate the blitz. As I said, I don't think Utah State wants to sit back anymore and allow him to have time to throw the alley-oop to his receiver. So they're going to come with pressure, try to get him before they can allow those routes to develop down the field.
Clock rolls again after they spot the ball. It's BYU, they got to hurry. Stewart rolling right, and again looking downfield, now looking back middle. He had a man, I thought, buying some extra time. And this play taking a long while. He gets the first down, scrambled for about 4 yards. So they stopped the clock.
That play took too much time. That was in this spot of the game. That was a costly gain of a first down.
Tomorrow morning, Ohio State, Maryland at noon. Texas A&M, Mississippi State. The start of clearly the highlight day to this point, and who knows how it shakes out. Could be the highlight day all year.
Great day of college football, at least at this point. Probably the most ranked teams, and we're going to see some undefeated teams facing each other. The great SEC West matchups, and just all across the nation. I mean, some really defining games for the season.
That committee, the playoff selection committee, with not that many data points to this point after tomorrow and what happened last night, what's happening here in Provo. Big upset of the Ducks. This will be a huge upset of BYU. That one down the left sideline, and again incomplete, and the receiver had gone out of bounds anyway. Ross Oppo. This is sort of the games we're talking about, ranked teams against ranked teams, 6 of them with just some tremendous matchups across the board.
Well, Alabama, Ole Miss, it's put up or shut up time for Ole Miss. They get a chance now, but they're getting Alabama. Maybe it's the wrong time. I think they're peaking. TCU is undefeated, and very quietly, they're a very good football team. I think Oklahoma better be prepared. We talked about Stanford going to Notre Dame and being favored. Nebraska, Michigan State, huge game for the Big Ten. Huge game for Nebraska and Michigan State, although Michigan State's status fallen a little bit with that loss Oregon suffered.
Well, I agree with you. The loss hurts the Ducks. That's Torrey Green who is hurting for Utah State. He's played a good game here tonight for the Aggies. But Michigan State, who looked so good for much of that game in Eugene, then fell apart in the second half, and the Ducks played very well. But I think Michigan State was counting on Oregon to be an excellent team, have that be a real high quality loss, and maybe make a case for the playoff.
I think now the Big Ten has to hope that Nebraska wins out, because they're the only undefeated team of stature in that conference. 3rd and 10,
BYU. Under 3 minutes to go. Stewart heaving it right side, and Juergens fighting for the ball, could not come up with it. Well, and this is where you and I, who's in as of right now, as of tonight, we have the same 4 teams in a little bit of different order. We're going to know a lot more next week.
We are, and I think Alabama, simply by the fact that they have not only a very, very good defense, but they have the most prolific offense they've ever had. I've got them rated #1.
I've been most impressed so far by Oklahoma, but it's close. I mean, you're sort of trying to find small differences between teams at this point. That pass was complete, but well short of a first down on 4th down. That will turn it over to the Aggies, and with no timeouts, Utah State can put this game away.
It should be the game, and Christian Stewart just had to run around too much and overthrew too many people early. Had a chance, and he's got to come back and lead this team down the road. He's got a very strong arm, but needs to improve his accuracy.
Well, Utah State cannot end the game simply by taking a knee. They can come real close to it, but we'll see how they play this. They may be content to do something like that anyway. They will hand the ball off to Hill.
It's close at 40 seconds a pop, or 38 seconds, whatever the case may be.
I think, Mike, we give this guy a pass for cramping on the sideline. Nick Vigil, you're allowed to have a few cramps with as many snaps and as well as he played.
Today? Yeah. Oh, my gosh. On both sides of the ball, and not just going in and being in the play, being the focal point of the play, leading the defensive tackles, and then carrying the ball on offense. Oh, my gosh. Great, great effort. Great football talent.
Well, the Aggies, they have not done this since 1978. It's been 36 years since Utah State came down to Provo from Logan and beat BYU on its home field. And now just a few seconds away from making that win official. Coming up next on SportsCenter, what a game in LA. Kershaw Wainwright, you thought it was going to be low scoring. Shocking comeback. And how about the Royals out to a quick start against the heavily favored Angels? College game day getting ready to go for the first time ever from Oxford, Mississippi. So lots of baseball, football to talk about tonight on SportsCenter.
I've heard the Grove is a beautiful place to tailgate. I'd like to do that sometime.
You got to sort of have the uniform, bow tie, the khakis, the
boat shoes. I heard
the boat shoes. The Oxford look. Handoff, and this will be a tackle short of the first down. So you see the clock, the play clock will begin. So you can't quite run out the game here, but the wagon wheel is going up to Logan.
No, and I'll tell you what, it'll be interesting to see this. I don't know if they'll let the clock run down or they'll try to get a first down to run it out on their own. I don't think they really want to give the ball back, but I'm a little bit surprised they're not huddling up and talk about the next play.
Well, they're a little more interested in celebrating, and I tell you what, Darryl Garrettson, and they told us, hey, we got a lot of faith in this guy. He, in high school, followed Brett Hundley, the UCLA star, in Chandler, Arizona. So Hundley went to UCLA. He took over there. He's taken over for a star, Chucky Keaton. They're shaking hands, but the game is not over.
No, it's not.
This is the second time out of the second half called by Utah State for 30 seconds.
Darryl Garrettson played great here tonight for Utah State. And he's, I think, telling his teammates, hey, we got to run another play.
Yeah, they're either going to punt it or they're going to put the offense back on the field and try to gain 2.5, 3 yards and get a first down.
Well, the last time that Utah State won here in Provo, Jim McMahon was on that BYU team.
Wow.
And he was here tonight after all these years. He got his degree, had his number retired, number 9.
Bruce Snyder might have been the coach at that time at Utah State, I believe.
Could be.
Yeah, I think so.
A great coach at several
Oregon
different
Duck.
spots.
Actually played at Oregon and started coaching in Oregon, and then was a great coach at Utah State.
You know, it's a bittersweet night for Jim McMahon and everybody with BYU. They're in a punt formation.
No returner.
BYU tried to get in there and block it. The punt is just going to hit and bounce and roll into the end zone for a touchback. Well, a good show of support from Chucky Keaton. Some words for his young understudy, Darryl Garrettson, the veteran quarterback for the Aggies, with a smile on his face.
And the coaches talked about how important Chucky Keaton has been to Darryl Garrettson, just as a support guy, as a guy that put trust in him. And Chucky Keaton is a legend here at this university at Utah State. And to step into his shoes is not easy, but Darryl certainly was up to the task tonight.
Lots for Bronco Mendenhall to think about tonight and to work on this week. A huge challenge ahead for BYU without some of their stars. Penalty flag thrown. Stewart heaving it up there for Leslie. Jordan Leslie will stay away from the tackle, finally get dragged down. It may not matter. There was a penalty on the play. Utah State comes out ready to celebrate. The official, the referee, is going to call the penalty out. So the team's coming out for the handshake, but
illegal chop block, number 56 of the offense. Penalties declined. Game over.
They declined the penalty. Game is over, and Utah State has its first win here in almost 4 decades.
Huge win. Congratulations to Matt Wells. I'll tell you what, though, you know, both coaches talked about this being a chippy game. I haven't seen any of that. I see respect out there for both teams.
Well, Utah State with a win. Taysom Hill and BYU, they lose their star quarterback. They lose the game. Final score 35-20 for Mike Bellotti and Allison Williams. Dave Fleming saying so long here from Provo after the Aggies pull the upset.
Everybody go.